They just approach him as he has resumed walking backwards and forwards, listening to this one and that one of the many pilgrims who have gathered in the wide court, many of whom ask him for advice for cases concerning their souls or family or social situations. And they wait to be able to say something to him after hearing him give his opinion to a man on a complicated matter of inheritance, which has brought about discord and ill feeling among several heirs, because of a son their father had to a maidservant of the household, and whom he adopted. The legitimate sons do not want the illegitimate one to stay with them. Neither do they wish to have him joint heir in the sharing of houses and fields, as they do not want to have anything further to do with him. But they do not know how to settle the matter, because their father before dying made them swear that as he had always divided the bread among the illegitimate son and the legitimate ones in equal parts, so they had to share out the inheritance in equal measures with him. I should just pause there, for no special reason, except to say, consider that problem then. These fellas, they've got a brother who's an illegitimate son, not of their mother but of a maidservant, but the father treated him like all the others. They can't stand this fella, this lad, because he's illegitimate. He's not their mother's child. So they don't want anything to do with this guy. They don't want him to receive the inheritance. I ask you, dear viewer, what would you do to resolve this problem? Because I'm going to give you Jesus' answer. Now you may have an idea, you may not have an idea, but I pause so that we can consider that this is a thorny problem. And Jesus, like in many other occasions in this work, he comes forward with a fine solution to the problem. The problem of hard-hearted men, basically. So now I've had a pause for you to think, wow, this is a real problem and it does need some thinking through. I'm going to give you Jesus' sublime answer. Jesus says to the man who is consulting him on behalf of his three brothers, each of you should give up a piece of ground and sell it in order to put together the money equivalent to 1/5 of the total patrimony and give it to the illegitimate son, saying, here is your share. You are not being cheated out of what belongs to you. Neither have we wronged our father's will. Go, and God be with you, and give plentifully, even more than the exact value of his share. Do so in the presence of just witnesses, and no one on the earth or beyond the earth will be able to utter a word of reproach or give rise to a scandal. And there will be peace among you and in you, as you will not feel remorse for disobeying your father, and you will not have with you him who, although really innocent, upsets you more than if he were a highwayman placed among you. The man says, the illegitimate son really upset the peace of our family. He ruined the health of my mother, who died of grief, and he usurped a place that did not belong to him. Man, he is not guilty, but he who procreated him is to be blamed. He did not ask to be born and bear the mark of illegitimacy. It was the covetousness of your father who begot him to hand him over to sorrow and to grieve you. Be therefore just towards the innocent man who is already painfully expiating a sin that is not his. Do not let the spirit of your father be anathema to you. God has judged him. Your curses are not required. Always honour your father, even if he is guilty, not for himself, but because he represented your God on the earth, as he created you by God's decree, and because he is the Lord of your house. Parents come immediately after God. Remember the Decalogue. And do not sin. Go in peace. I can't help but pause there. Jesus affirming parents come immediately after God. Therefore, it's the duty of every parent to instill, every Catholic parent to instill in their child an obedience to them as parents. It's difficult in the Western world. Some more traditional cultures are able to do it, but it's a requirement of Catholic parents to do it as best they can and to order affairs so that they don't expose their children to the kind of children that predominate in the Western world. How to do that? Well, at least one can try and choose an appropriate school. That may not be very practical as a possibility, especially in the UK. One can get rid of the television set for a start, and that is very easy to do. One can not have a Netflix or Sky, save money, very easy to do. If one doesn't do those things, well, how can one complain to God when this 14-year-old is bad-mouthing you? Or if it's a girl, she comes back with, something inside her that wasn't supposed to be there because she's not married and she's too young. Avoid all that. And what the duty then is of the child, once it's reached the age of reason, is to start obeying the parent, because this is the parent, God's representative on earth. So it's not first the priest who's God's representative on earth, it's the parent. And remember St. Peter and elsewhere it says, we are a kingdom of priests. So I would say that we men can say, if we're parents, we are whether we're parents or not, actually, we're priests, and all women, whether they're parents or not, if they're Catholics, are priestesses. I hesitate to say that, but actually, there's nothing wrong in saying that. In fact, marriages break down. Women are single parents. They have to be the priest in their household to their children, hard as it may be. And so all parents deserve honour, and all children must honour their parents. And no matter what kind of parents there are, and parents can be bad, they can be very, very bad, as well as being very good. We all hope they'd be very good, but it's not the way it is. Not all are. But the child's duty is to try and see, despite all the hurt that can be caused by a parent, to see that they are to be honoured according to the Decalogue. And an example of that is this man, this father, who went and had relations with a servant who is not his wife. Naturally, any son is going to be displeased to know his father's doing that. And he could even hate his father. Now, there are many men who in marriage go with other women, and their sons and daughters know that's happened. But Jesus is saying, don't hate your father, despite him doing that. And the wife in this case had died. But I've no doubt that Jesus will be saying to her, forgive your husband. So we have in Catholicism here, our faith is, of course, that marriage is for life. And so if one follows the logic of the duty to forgive, not 7 times, but 77 times, that is, without stopping, then there's not even the cause of adultery to justify divorce. And so only in the Catholic faith do we have a really coherent view of marriage. In Eastern Orthodoxy, you can get divorced. So clearly, false religion. In Protestantism, of course, divorce is a plague. They thought they could keep it under control, but it's, of course, now a routine thing. Multiple marriages and multiple divorces. Once you open the stable door, the horse will bolt. That's just, should be axiomatic. If we Catholics ever go down that road, then we will see our faith destroyed. As a culture, Christianity cannot survive if there is divorce. Now, there are very limited circumstances, the Pauline privilege and the Petrine privilege, into which I will not go. They are extremely restrictive, and we can say the Pauline privilege is where, St. Paul says, look, if you're married, say you were a pagan or a heathen or an atheist, you married a woman who's also the same as you, and then you convert to Catholicism, and she won't live with you in peace, then you can divorce then. But you've got to try and live in peace with this woman, even if she will not convert. She's got to let you practice your faith, though. It's when she won't do that that divorce can be an option. So that's, in essence, the Pauline privilege from Scripture. I think it's in 1 Corinthians.